Hello and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, where we help dads sort through their divorce and create an amazing life for themselves and their children. I'm Jude Sandoval. I am your host. Thanks for being here today. Before we get started, I do want to welcome or invite everybody or anybody to the meetup group coming up this Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. It is a fantastic opportunity, a free opportunity to connect with other men who are going through divorce or have been recently divorced. Some of us, like myself on there, have been divorced for a while, but it's basically divorced fathers. So we're getting a good turnout from men all across the country. Would love to have somebody maybe from another country join us as well. So I'll put that link down in the meeting notes here so that you can RSVP to that, and we hope to see you this Saturday. Again, it's if you don't have the means to find a therapist or a coach, this is a great opportunity to talk with other men, to get some ideas and tips. And at least for me, during the process of divorce, it was good just to know that there are other people going through things and to bounce stuff off of people. So it's a great resource. It's the Dad's Divorced Meetup group, and it is in the links below. So my topic today for the show is happiness as a self-defeating solution. And I'm just going to say I'm recording this very late in the week. I usually have this done days later, but this has been a little more of a challenging concept for me to wrap my head around. And I wrote my article at Medium about it and posted it earlier this week. And even though I did work through it, and I'm going to give you some steps, this has been a little bit of a challenging one. And happiness is being a self-defeating solution because it feels like everything in our society is set up to figure out how to maximize being happy. Like, or you always hear just follow your bliss, or this or that, or all the products are making it easier for us to just numb and be quote unquote happy, or have it your way, or whatever the slogan is. Anything that's going to make us seemingly happy. And during divorce, everything seems to be really upside down, and it's just a tsunami of feelings and emotions. And some of this stuff really comes up in opportune time. And as I stated in the last Dad's Guide to Divorce, we don't conjure up these thoughts. They just simply appear without our summoning and approval. We don't have any way to control our thoughts. It's an impossible concept, and if anybody tells you otherwise, it's not true. We can be aware of them and decide what we want to do with them, but they just come up. And I'll tell you, there's nothing like having this stuff come up at an inopportune time. Like for instance, I have an example of just having a time where I was dropping off my daughters to their transition in the morning and going to a business meeting, and knowing that I wasn't going to see them for a week, and just literally breaking down in the car and upset, that trying to get used to the idea that I'm not going to be seeing them for a while. And so, my default go-to was that I was going to put a happy face on, and I was going to suck it up. I was going to plow through that and be happy, because I identify as a happy person. And so it turns out that this isn't necessarily the healthiest coping strategy. And so for me, this has been a little bit of an aha challenge, and it's been a recent aha challenge since I've come across this. I regard myself as a happy person. I have a positive outlook. But an article I recently read that said, under certain, and this is the quote from it, under certain circumstances, valuing happiness may be self-defeating and result in disappointment, depending upon how people evaluate the progress toward that goal. And so that really gave me pause, because, you know, by aligning my mental and emotional state with happiness, I always thought, okay, this is assisting me in creating a better life, right? Creating that better life that I'm envisioning. And so by forcing myself to be happy, you know, I'm working towards that goal, right? So, you know, we've talked about the 5 steps in the Dad's Guide to Divorce. Well, so this isn't meshing with that. So this is why this has been really challenging. And the article went on to say, researchers found that valuing happiness can set people up for disappointment, especially if they compare themselves to an ideal. So this really, this really forced me to step back and look at my happiness as a goal. And then also trying to understand that if valuing happiness is paradoxically leading me to sadness, because disappointment is a form of sadness, so it's paradoxically leading me to a form of sadness, what's a better approach? So as you can imagine, this is a little bit of for me, this is a little bit challenging, and with all the emotions that you may be going through, this might be challenging as well. So what I did is I put together 4 steps that I felt would assist in realizing lasting happiness. So not the happiness that, you know, that's just esoteric, that we're talking about, that we're seeing on every day, not that plowing through, putting on a happy face happiness that I've been doing, or you know, putting or creating a happy, just a happy, positive outlook, even if I'm not feeling happy. So let's dive into this. And the first one is similar to the step 1 in Dad's Guide to Divorce, and that is determining what your needs are. So the first in Dad's Guide to Divorce is, you know, clarifying your vision and direction. And so, you know, like I've said, it's very challenging because it's very chaotic during divorce. But the opportunity of that is that now you have a reason to stop, reassess everything that's going on in your life, and then consciously create the vision and direction that you want for your future. So, and that includes determining what your needs are. So as you go through that process, and I encourage you to go back, maybe look at or listen to the Dad's Guide to Divorce, step 1, clarify your vision and direction. Or again, you can always go back to the Medium articles. For those of you that don't follow regularly or are new to the show, my Medium articles follow the show line. So I've got a lot of this written out at medium.com, and you can read essentially what we're talking about on a weekly basis here on the show as well. And I put those Medium links in the show notes below. So you can go back to the previous show notes. You can look at that. That's step 1. And again, if you can find a therapist, if you can find a coach that's going to help you through clarifying your vision and direction, that's great. Start to determine what your needs are specifically and start working with that. If you don't have the means for a therapist or a coach, 12-step groups are great places with structure. Any kind of support group, men's meeting like the Divorced Dads meetup that I started too. That's one of the reasons that I've started that, to give viewers and listeners the opportunity to have a free resource to get involved that way as well. So step 1 would be to specifically determine what your needs are. Step 2, okay, and so again, these are the steps to realizing lasting happiness. Step 2, cease idolizing what could have been or what could be. So quote, what could have been or quote, what could be. And so this is probably the most challenging one for me, particularly with the idea of what could be, of my desire, my penchant for romanticizing about how and what I want things to be. So, the other part of that is that, like I said, in society, we see all of this stuff surrounding us that's telling us what the ideal life is. You go onto any social media and you see, or you listen to pop music, or you listen or you watch the movies, and it's all this romanticized idea of what could be, or ideal way of what life should be like. There's also your familial family structure that has kind of wired into you what your life is supposed to be like and the ideal life is supposed to be like. And that could be traditional family values, or that could be an alternative lifestyle, whatever that may be for you. But growing up in whatever this culture may have been for you, that is also going to create what could be. Now, during divorce, for me, the challenge was coming to terms with the fact that I was disappointed about not going to have the family life that I had desired. And so that was the work that I needed to do in order to stop idealizing about what could have been. Now, for me, I'm 8 years down the road. I've done the deep internal work to come to terms with that. Many of you may just be going through that right now, and that's an important process to go through and to understand, and then come to acceptance with where you're at now and becoming comfortable with that. My challenge now is what could be for my future, and I do this in my relationship, is that I have a belief and ideal of where I want it to be, and I may get disappointed because it's not moving in that direction, or I haven't met or achieved where it is that I want to do. And that's where we get to step 3, which works in conjunction with step 2, and that is accept and be grateful for what you actually have. So, it helped me to start journaling about this and just writing out, and I'm going to give you another technique too, about my life on a daily basis. So that helped me to start accepting and being grateful for exactly what it is that I had in my life. And I'll use an example of from when I was going through my divorce, and that was after I had accepted the fact that I'm not going to have the family life because I'm getting divorced, right? I'm not going to have the family life that I'd hoped to design and to live in. By then taking the time to really look at what was happening in my life, and what the result of that was, that I was only going to have 50-50 parenting time with my daughters. And what that in turn did was cause me to get very focused around being a heart-centered, available father who was present. If you've listened before, if you've read the articles before, that is my vision as a father and in my family life. So I created that, and in turn, what that did is it deepened the relationship that I had with my daughters. And so by shifting that focus, so what happens when you start to do this? So once you've come to terms with what could have been and aren't thinking what could be, and then you accept the situation for where you're at, and then you have gratitude for what you have, it's going to change your shifting in thinking. It's going to reset or reframe your mindset. And so that reframe and that of my mindset then was, wow, I have this incredibly deep relationship with my daughters that I may not have otherwise had if I had the family life that I had with my ex, because it would not have forced this very conscientious, conscious effort on my part to become a heart-centered, available father who was always present. So, it's, again, I'm not going to lie, it's a challenging reframe, particularly when you're in the middle of all of this coming up. But if you take the effort, I promise. The other step I wanted to say is an exercise that I used was when I started feeling bad about something, bad about my divorce, maybe feeling sorry for myself about what's going on, or even if I was feeling shame, because shame comes in with a lot of us that had an unhealthy upbringing or childhood. If shame came in, I would sit and I would write out a minimum of 50 things that I'm grateful for. I would just stop, pull out a piece of paper or I carry my journal with me all the time, a journal or notebook, and just write 50 things that I'm grateful for. And that can change. That would change. And sometimes it would be simply that I'm grateful that I have a cell phone to communicate with my daughters or something just silly. Or I'm grateful for my computer to be able to communicate with all of you. But that's still something to be grateful for. So, and if you can do 100, that even pushes you even further into this exercise of reframing yourself to be grateful for what's happening. So that's an excellent exercise. I highly encourage. And then the fourth step, and this is where I think then this all kind of wraps together and is the real key step that ensures that we're not going to paradoxically set ourselves up for failure and sadness, because we'll be looking at things from now that reframed mindset. And that step 4 is measure your progress from who you were yesterday. So what does that look like? We often, and you'll hear this in motivational speeches, you hear this if you go on YouTube and watch some of these gurus, and it's like, do the hustle and rah, 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 and have that unwavering determination and get up at 4 a.m. and plow through and stay focused and have the passion and no regrets. And it's like all this willpower and pushing through it, except that sets us up for failure because we're just pushing to achieve that goal. And it doesn't allow us to have the appropriate mindset around how we get to that goal. And that is focusing on the behaviors that you are, and I talked about this also in the Dad's Guide as well, focusing on the behaviors to get to that goal, and then measuring yourself not by how close you are to that goal, but how much you have improved from who you were before. And that can be as simple as every day, have you done something, anything, one thing, it can be small, to improve yourself and move you towards that goal, in this case of happiness, or reframing your mind, working through these steps, that was improving you from yesterday. So if you measure from that aspect, and every day you are doing something, you're feeling good and positive and motivated about continuing. It's opposed to measuring how far you are from your goal right now, because that can oftentimes, especially if the steps are so slow and incremental, that looks and seems so far off, and then you get discouraged and you quit. So that's where you set up yourself up for failure by looking at that goal, and so then you get upset if you don't reach that goal, right? You feel like a failure. It didn't work. I didn't reach the goal. or you feel frustrated because it's taking just absolutely forever to get to that result, or you get to the end result and you're just not happy, right? How many times have you reached a goal that you set out for yourself, thought this is going to just be the end all, make you happy, and it really didn't change. Your mindset didn't change. So if you work from the other direction, which is I'm improving, I'm better than I was yesterday. And does that mean that some days you're not going to look at yourself and go, shoot, I really didn't do anything today, and I haven't done anything to improve myself from yesterday, and feel guilty about that? Yes, you will. I do. And that's not a bad thing. Feeling guilty about is an emotion that helps you to set your course. So then you can say, well, then now I'm going to do something right now, or tomorrow I'm going to do something that is going to move me forward. So you can see how this then, and then you continue to improve, you continue to be motivated. Eventually you reach that goal, but it's not about attaining that goal that makes you happy. It is about the process through which you went and the better person that you became. You've become more centered. You've become able to reframe your thoughts around all of these situations, etc. You have become a better man. And in the end result, whether you've reached your goal, and you've heard this, reach for the stars, and even if you don't, or shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you're among the stars. So even if you don't attain that goal, which is like the worst case scenario of not attaining a goal, right? You don't get there, you don't reach it, and instead of feeling a failure, then you are still among the stars because you have gone through this entire process, and you haven't been measuring yourself by being tied to the outcome of that goal, but by who you become and what you have done in that time to get there. And that is why that then makes this the key to not paradoxically setting yourself up for failure and sadness, because then you will always be happy. So if this is a challenging concept to get your mind around, I am right there with you, because it is for me. And I can tell you that I am continually working on this philosophy because of many reasons, and many reasons I stated. I'm hardwired to believe that I'm happy, and I've been under the false belief that just plowing through these things and being happy and putting on a happy face is the way to do it. And you may have some of your own issues or ways, or that you're wired around this as well. But if you can work through these 4 steps, and I'm still a newbie at it, but I see that it's working. And I like how it's working, and I like how I feel around this. I promise you that that's going to start to take shape for you as well. And then we start to avoid this, happiness as a self-defeating solution. We can have real, lasting happiness that comes from within ourselves, while also working how we work through steps and reaching goals, creating vision and direction, but have that be a real internal, lasting happiness that's not only going to help us, but it's going to help our children. It'll be a model for our children, and they're going to see that too. And I know that sharing stuff like this with my daughters assists me in learning and understanding it too. So I'm under no delusion, and I'm actually teaching them anything. I think oftentimes I'm more learning from them about life and how to get through this stuff by conveying some of this stuff that I may be working through our learning. So this may be a concept you want to share with your children as you watch them working towards goals in school, or their athletic or extracurricular activities, or whatever they may be doing, while working on it and through it yourself. I always find that is a spectacular, unbelievable opportunity for me to deepen my learning, which is sharing this with them and answering questions around it and working through it all together. So that is happiness as a self-defeating solution. Please, if you have comments, questions, ideas, share in the comments below. Send me an email. As always, the 30-minute free consultation is still going on right now. Go to the divorceddadvocate.com and click on the contact/schedule. You will sync. You can schedule right there. You'll sync right into my calendar. We can spend a half hour talking about any of this information. You can always reach out through the website or directly with the email, or on my phone numbers on the website as well. And I invite you to come to the meetup this coming Saturday, or it's every other Saturday, and share with some other men. If you could help me out, it would be very much appreciated if you could do a review. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, just put a star rating in there, put a few words. I'd appreciate it. If you go to Google and look up the Divorced Advocate and do a Yelp review, that would help. Or liking this page on YouTube helps me immensely as well. So share this as well with other divorced fathers, and we're starting to build a critical mass around this. We're in multiple countries now with men all over the world that are talking and sharing about their divorces, and that is my aim, is to assist each and every one of us during and after divorce in creating the amazing life that we want and that we deserve, and that is going to benefit our children. So thank you for being here today, and take care.